and welcome to this edition of the Boob Tube Buddies podcast, featuring our discussion of the Cinemax original series Outcast, episode 104, entitled A Wrath Unseen. I'm Adam Foxman, this is Mathis Coos.
Hello.
And you can follow us on Why always with the... Alright, you know what? Don't throw me off my rhythm, man. Come on, I'm doing this.
That's my new gag.
And you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit. We'd love to field any questions, comments, and concerns, and please rate us on iTunes. This is the number one way that you can support our show, and we'd really appreciate it. What is going on, Mothman?
Not a whole lot. I'm going to make my initial, hello or whatever it is, the equivalent of the podcast Simpsons couch gag.
Something completely different every time?
Yeah, and always getting a crack out of you, you know?
Well, I don't know how many different ways there are to say hello, and considering that The Simpsons put out, maybe 10 to 15 episodes a year, and we put that many out per week, I think that you're really going to struggle to keep it fresh.
Yeah, eventually I'm just going to switch languages up, right?
For sure.
Anyway.
There's a bug flying all over me.
Jesus, how unprofessional. Hey, everyone. How's your night going? Hopefully good, because you're listening to Boob Tube Buddies. So, real quick, if you go to audibletrial.com/boobtubebuddies, God, you can trial Audible for 30 days for free. Incredible. Because they have over 180,000 titles. You will never get bored listening. They have absurd sci-fi on there, just, real trashy romance, but they also have some good books too. It's absolutely phenomenal, and we'll have a real funny ad/gag at the end of the show in relation to Audible. Also, check out the links in each podcast, because we link to either merchandise or memorabilia or whatnot, and it's just a great way to support us. So let's get this bitch moving, am I right?
Let's do it. And coming in off of your super enthusiastic ad plug right there, we start off at a funeral for poor old Norville.
Goddamn Norville.
Oh.
But, these kind of moments make you sad, but when you see the amount of people that show up and just how much of an impression he left on those around him and in the community, it makes it worth it, you know?
It's a warm feeling inside is the best way that I know how to describe it.
Yeah, I just, not only did the Reverend come to say the eulogy, but Kyle came and didn't say anything.
The maintenance guy, Caleb.
Yeah, and then the maintenance or pallbearer or whatever, he came as well, and he was pretty excited. So
he also accidentally broke the handle off the casket and had to go lumbering off back to the church to find a new handle to put on.
That was a really funny moment, but
that was good.
Yeah, you know what they say, three's company, even in death.
Of course, a third wheel does end up showing up and making this funeral a tricycle anyway. And in this case, it's actually Data that comes up, which, of course, now we finally get his name. His name is Sydney. And he asks Kyle, do we know each other? But Kyle's basically has not met him before, right?
No, he has not. But at this point, I got a pretty distinct scent of foul play.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because I guess what Sydney really asked Kyle is if, how well he knew Norbert. And Kyle's like, well, I'm just the one that found him. I'm the next door neighbor. And Sydney's like, well, I'll be putting Norbert's affairs in order, so I'll be seeing you around. And he passes the casket and leaves. But I will say there's definitely a bit of a menacing air about him. Not so overtly that Kyle and the Reverend notice, and it's most likely just because we know that his role in all this is pretty sinister based on the way that he talks to Kyle's mother in the nursing home.
Exactly, yeah, he is a villain of some sort, but this is where we say rest in peace to Norbert. We don't see him again. Or Norwal. Or Norwegian.
Peace out, Neville.
Yeah. Aaron Neville. I don't know how much, but I love you.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. Better than my southern accents.
Oh my god, your southern accents were slaying me, dude.
They will premiere at some point on the show.
Awesome, I hope you have your banjo sound ready to hopefully save it.
I'm not a one-trick pony.
Okay. Alright, so the next scene that we get into is Megan, and she is getting dressed up for date night. And Deputy Mark, a.k.a. Roy from The Office.
D-Mark!
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, sure. Sick in the paint. And so he's saying, it's a lot of pressure, and they're kind of just joking around about, like, how much pressure there is on date night, which, when you actually do have young kids, and getting a sitter is a bit of an ordeal, and getting out is not a common every night occurrence. I kind of get where they're coming from, but they're joking about it, saying, like, he's coming with all these great topics to discuss. He hopes she's ready, and she's like, man, I'm always on my A game. Bring it, bitch.
Yeah, she's pretty excited. Hey, bring your A game. I only got A game. Or
that is how she says it. Hey.
Hey. So they go to the restaurant. They start talking, have a grand old time. But someone walks in, and she's a little bit shaken, and so you almost wonder if it's the mysterious man from the red car that she went to the motel room for.
Most definitely it is. And we got at least a little bit of a look at him when he walks into the hotel last episode, and it's definitely him. He comes up. She's looking really uncomfortable. Deputy Mark introduces himself. The guy's like, where's the horses? Mark's like, what the fuck?
What are you talking
weird
about?
non sequitur.
Yeah, seriously.
and then the dude's like, Megan used to say some white knight was going to show up and whisk her away. And I don't know how this doesn't, like, throw up some alarm bells to Mark, because he's still being pleasant. Like, if I heard that, I'd immediately think, like, and seeing the look on his wife's face, like, there's clearly something going on, and this guy's presence shouldn't be welcomed here.
Yeah, it seems pretty obvious that he's, I don't know, not a friend of some sort. She seems a little bit disturbed, but he's being super, like,
congenial.
Yeah, but also, like, dumb nice, because he even ends on, he asks, where does he know, like, you two know each other? Oh, yeah, we go way back, and he ends on the note of, you look really great. We got to get coffee sometime. Oh, and it was nice meeting you, which, he obviously, like, singles out that he wants to hang out with her alone and get coffee, and that she's looking good.
True, yeah, and so Deputy Mark and she end up talking about it, and he's like, what's going on with that guy? And Megan's like, he's just a dumb jock and a bully. I thought I'd never have to see him again. And Mark, don't you dare buy any tires from him. Dee.
Yeah, because he offers to kick his ass, and we did find out through this dialogue that he does sell tires, and she's above that, but she's not above boycotting the business. Am I right?
Definitely not. She'd go full on tank tracks if it came down to it.
Yeah. So from here we have Kyle into the going into some kind of dive bar, and people are starting to look at him, and you kind of have that record scratch kind of thing. I wish I had a sound effect for it, but instead I'll just do that kind of fart sound.
Okay, for the record, I literally in my notes wrote down that there's not a record scratch moment. So clearly we saw this scene completely differently. Because I was thinking, like, he did get some looks, but there wasn't like people getting up out of their chairs, like the jukebox kicks off, everybody. It was just kind of like some sideways glances, like, really, that dude's here? And then the only, I guess, real record scratch moment is what happens a few minutes later when Donnie walks up to him while he's at the bar having his bud, and Donnie says, Megan looks good, saw her today, and Kyle is like straight to Sheriff from Stranger Things mode and just tackles him and beats that ass.
Yeah, maybe that's what I was thinking of, because he goes in there, you have the awkward glances, but it does seem like time almost stops, but it's right when I think Donnie comes in there looking at each other. Weird too that we just reviewed Preacher, where Donnie's also a douche.
Yeah, apparently Donnie is the go-to name in Hollywood right now for douchey characters.
Seriously, but he's
apologies to any Donnie listeners out there.
He's also the like rape face Harrington to like the umpteenth degree.
Yeah, but literally.
So it would seem as it unfolds. So yeah, Kyle's just an expert fighter. He beats the shit out of this dude. Oh, wait, no, he doesn't. He actually kind of gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah, because they get thrown outside, and then they, turn it into a street match. And, yeah, the guy's way bigger than him. Kyle, it's not like he's, some tiny, slender little dude, but this guy is, relatively big and burly.
Sure, yeah, Kyle's punches only seem to work against demons.
Yeah, I guess that's true. This guy clearly is not possessed.
No, he's just like, run-of-the-mill human evil.
Yeah, basically, that's true. And then Donnie says really, really sweet little one-liner as he's walking away. He's like, "Hey, Kyle, haven't you figured out the guardian angels don't exist?"
that laugh is so good. Oh, man.
Poor little Kyle ends up spitting blood in the gutter and gets himself up, but that's how that scene ends.
"Hey, Kyle, if you want me to leave Megan alone, then you're going to have to race me down the K2.
Oh, God. Pizza and french fries. Pizza and french fries. Isn't that how it goes?
Something around that. Yeah, something like that. Anyway. So
All right, so go to the next scene, the shot of Main Street with Megan.
Yeah, she's getting a phone call, which it's Kyle, and he's talking about running into Donnie, and he wants to know if Megan's seen her, which, he said he did see her, but he wants to know if anything happened, if he, you're getting a pretty clear insinuation that maybe rape happened, right, at this point?
Definitely. I mean, we know it's some form of molestation. It's not really, they don't go into too much detail, but clearly he forced himself upon her when they were younger.
Yeah, so she explains that simply he showed up when they were having dinner, and that nothing actually happened, and basically pleads with him not to actually do anything.
Yeah.
Not get himself in trouble with the cops over something that, I think she's trying to convince herself she's buried and it's not affecting her.
Yeah, and there's not much else to it. He basically, she cajoles him into promising that he's not going to do anything else. So that's really how that ends. And the next...
every time you say cajoles, I just think of calzones.
Do I have to explain to you what cajole means?
No.
I hate that I'm like the English lit teacher.
I don't know. It's just that every time I hear it, I just get hungry. It sounds so appetizing. Or cannoli, I guess. Either one.
Got any more Italian food jokes in up your sleeve over there?
Caprese, is that one? Oh man, okay.
Moving on. All right, so next scene is Reverend picking up old flowers in the graveyard, and Kyle walks up and he's like, old church lady Florence, she sent me out to see you, and Reverend says, the thing that sucks about this whole job that I got is everybody wants something from you. The old women, the cheating wives or husbands, everybody always wants to come to the Reverend. Sometimes you just need a break. And apparently his idea of a break is cleaning up the graveyard. Get a fucking life, Reverend.
What I love is that he's okay cleaning up the graveyard, has no issues with it. To him, it's taking a break, and yet he was the worst fucking person in the world when trying to find a photo that was a foot into bushes.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right? He
that's
can't
because
clear
he's actually
the dam.
Well, he's actually using his hands now. What if him picking up the flowers was he's just kicking them around like he did in that other scene?
Moving dirt and smashing the flowers around just looks terrible.
His poor little fucking T-Rex arms. He can't actually pick things up.
It just looks like the graves have been trampled by elephants.
Come on, Mathis. We're in a graveyard here. Serious.
Okay, sorry.
All right, so Kyle's ready for more action, man. This guy hasn't punched anybody in 10 hours. So he's ready to get his throttle on. And, Reverend's like, I heard you had enough action last night. You need to clean your fucking act up, man.
Whoa. What do you think God would say about the language?
He's the one who literally says the F word right here.
I know, and then that's what Kyle asks him, and then he goes, he's heard worse than that.
Oh, that is true. No, you're right. That's exactly what his reaction is. And Reverend's like, come on, dude. Well, he does not say, come on, dude.
Come on, man, bro.
Okay, I'm paraphrasing. But he's like, people have to trust you enough to let you through the doors. All right, come on, let's go for a ride.
And then I wish kind of heavy rock music started there, but it didn't.
Or just Leader of the Pack.
Yeah, well, I was totally thinking if they were both on Harleys, that would have been amazing.
So Reverend and Kyle go out on an ass-beating mission. Just kidding. They're bringing food up to the house of an elderly woman. And Reverend's like, sometimes you combat evil by doing other things, like little acts of kindness and stuff like that. So this lady, her name's Sophie, opens the door and lets him in, and she says she's not really sure how her mother's doing, which is who they're really there to see, and asks if she can speak to the Reverend alone in the kitchen.
And to which she explains that, that doesn't even seem like her mother anymore. It's not that, she's older or whatnot. It's just the venom that spews from her mouth that she's
Use the exact terminology of what she calls her mom.
what calls her? I don't remember. I just know that she says that she calls
She
her
literally-
13-year-old daughter a whore.
She literally calls her mom a cranky old bitch.
Hey, that's right. But she says it. She seems mortified when she says it. Like she's just a cranky old bitch.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of not wanting to actually say it. Which, this is the lady.
The cops coming for you over there, Mothman?
Yeah, they are. I was like, where is that coming from? I think there's going to be a raid. I'm sorry.
You know what? You know what it is? I think that ass too fat. Whoop, whoop, pull over that ass too fat. Whoop, whoop.
Anyway, so...
All right, way to play off our lack of professionalism.
I just need to get a soundproof wall and get rid of the windows. Anyway,
I'm killing bugs in my space and you're being tracked down by the police.
So the old lady in this...
Cranky old bitch.
Cranky old bitch. We've seen prior, and you'll remember she was the one that didn't mind when the Reverend said put asses in the seats.
Asses in the pews. Yep, that's exactly right.
So
yep.
she's not even she's an old lady, and salty talk doesn't affect her. I'm gonna go ahead and call that. I think she's possessed.
Oh yeah, she a cranky old demon bitch.
Seriously. So at some point, Kyle goes and meets her, and they're talking.
Wait, real quick before that happens. He sees a little fishing figurine on a ledge and flashes back to the exorcism of that same old lady. So now we know she's more than just some cranky old bitch that goes to the church. She actually was possessed at some point and was exorcised by the Reverend.
That's true, and they do their classic little thing right now where it's like, oh, you're seeing this little fish over there?
Yeah, and as always, it scared the fucking piss out of me.
Yeah, it is pretty loud. So now you realize that, well, there's nothing to worry about. She's already been exorcised, but I think we also know better. We talked about this last episode, but I don't have a lot of faith in the work the Reverend's been doing. I think he's been missing the Outcast all along, and
that certainly comes up during this episode.
Yeah, so now Kyle and cranky old bitch are talking, and she's egging him on a little bit, as the demons do, but she's a little more restrained than, say...
Pity about
Blake
your mother.
Yeah, a little more restrained than, say, Blake was from last episode. And then she falls, and Kyle grabs her arm, and what happens?
Well, first, yeah, she's like, just really trying to get his goad. Like, pity about your mother. Everything goes to shit eventually, like your relationship. What about the Austin boy? I saw his face. What did you see when you did that to him? And she's acting like very clearly there's something inside of her. And she goes stumbling a little bit, and actually I think she stumbles backwards because he reaches out and kind of grabs her forearm. And then you hear like the tss, and she just recoils and falls backwards. And the commotion draws in the daughter and the Reverend. They run in, and the old lady's like, I appreciate your help, Reverend, but I'm not up for visitors today.
Yep. It's kind of a sad thing of affairs, right? I mean, they could save this woman, and Sophie just doesn't want to save the cranky old bitch.
Well, we don't even really necessarily know that yet. They just know that this old woman wants them out. She stumbled and fell. Everybody in the town is already super suspicious of Kyle's, wife and child beaten ass. So they're all, like he's just got that stigma with him.
Sure.
And, or stigmata.
But even though he hasn't, though, you as the audience are pretty clear that she's possessed at this point.
Yeah, for sure. The way she talks to Kyle, it's undoubtedly the case. Followed by the sizzle, that's just the demonic cherry on top. So they walk out, and Kyle's like, "Dude, listen." I love that. My immediate thing to go to is bro talk. For
all
them.
right, you be Reverend, or you be Kyle, and I'll be the Reverend.
Listen, homie. She's the one you exorcised, isn't she?
Shit, man, that was 2 years ago. She's in the seats every Sunday singing hymns.
Man, listen. There's something going on here. This cranky old bitch, has definitely been possessed.
You crazy?
How can you be sure it's gone?
I don't know. Faith of God? Well, how would God let me do that?
Bitches be sizzling.
Bitches be sizzling. And scene.
Oh, man. I think we just drove away our last remaining listeners right there.
We might have, but,
Fuck them.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead and go on to the next scene with Megan making dinner.
Yeah, she's making some dinner.
Franken beans.
Exactly. Yeah. D-Mark comes home, and he's kind of being a dick about maybe the fettuccine or whatever being gone. But
I thought he was just being playful. He jokes that she ate all the fettuccine leftovers, and she definitely is not having that playful attitude right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like when your old rapist is in town, there's no being playful, and he should know better.
Well, I don't think that he's aware that that's the case yet.
I think he has an inkling.
I guess
Because, I mean, the next scene when he's... Or not the next scene, but when he's with Kyle, he goes, "It is him, I knew it." So he knows there was the abuser in her life.
Yeah, I mean, there is no... And plus, it was hinted at when Kyle first comes to visit their house, and he says something to the effect of, like, "Listen, I know what he did for you when you guys were younger, and we could never repay him for that." So, we have... Anyway.
I'm just saying, he's like this super investigator who's taking fingerprints off gold watches and, digging up fingernails, and he can't put two and two together.
That is a good point.
Okay, all right, I rest my case.
All right, okay, Judge Mathis. So yeah, and he is being too playful. You're right. He's like, so I'm your little knight in shining armor, huh? And she just freezes up a little bit because now he's literally thrown that guy's words in her face, and she's like, "So you think I just married you because you're a cop? That's insulting, and I don't want to hear it again."
He's like,
and
okay, honey, you won't.
Yeah,
you
he's
won't.
a little taken aback, but he does apologize. And so later on that night, Megan is putting Holly to bed, and she's kind of sitting in Holly's room, just thinking in the dark. And she gets up and she peeks through a crack in the door, and cue
flashback. So
flashback.
But not. I mean, no flashbacks in the show are peaceful, right? There's not.
They're awful.
There's not a single one that's just like, oh, and that's why he's fascinated with cars. How sweet. It's all just terrible. So now she's looking down a hallway. She makes a run for it, runs into another room, goes to slam the door, and a young boy kind of pries the door open. You obviously
he's not
assume.
That young though. I mean, he's probably.
They're both
like,
young. They both seem to be teenagers, but
he seems to be a couple years older than her, if I had to guess. Like, I'd say that she probably looks like she's 13, and he probably looks like he's 15.
Yeah, probably 2-year difference.
Yeah.
But he pries the door open. She looks terrified, and then
he's leering at her.
Yeah, that's all you see, though. Yeah, he's checking her up and down. So
it's not
very
all you see. I mean, because
rape.
he doesn't. Yeah, he actually does put his hands on her, not like groping, but like kind of forcing her backwards towards the bed, and that is how it ends. But I mean, it is very clearly implied that he
combed her hair.
Sure. I mean, we don't need to get too into it, and I'm definitely not going to sit here cracking too much wise during a rape scene in the show. But yeah, that is definitely what is happening here.
Yeah. So now she kind of goes back to present time. She's walking through the hallway. She gets to her room. She's obviously upset. And she sees the closet open, walks up to it slowly. And she's just kind of feeling around there, and she grabs some kind of box. And then, there's a revolver inside. So, I don't know. She might be planning on taking some drastic steps.
Either way, it's either that or she's looking to just protect herself if he came, creeping down her hallway.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, next scene is Kyle walking down Main Street with some groceries in his hands, and Deputy pulls up along beside him and flashes his lights. Whoop whoop. Says hop in. Kyle's like, "Come on, man! Why do I do that?" He's like, I got stuff that needs to get in the freezer. And Deputy's like, "If your ice cream gets soft, I'll buy you another quart." So he takes Kyle to a bar, grabs 2 beers. Mark's like, "Listen, homie, we need to talk." He tells him about date night the other night, when they were at dinner, and Kyle's like, I don't know anything about that.
And then he's like, "You gotta lie to D-Mart? You gotta lie to D-Mart." We're deeper than that, bro.
Come on, bro, come at me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark is basically like, is that him? Is that the guy? And Kyle doesn't answer, but that's enough of an answer from Mark. Like, his suspicion is now confirmed.
Yeah, he slams his hand down. He's fucking pissed. And you can probably tell he's going to do something rash, I would say.
For sure. So we actually get like the verbal confirmation of it. Kyle's like, how much did she tell you? And Mark's like, he was a foster kid that her parents took in and he abused her. And now Mark is just like fucking pissed that Donnie came up and that he shook his hand like everything was all good. Mm-hmm. And Kyle says, at a point, I started sleeping on the floor in her room when I had heard what happened. I couldn't stop him, because she's bigger than me, but I could get in the way and I could always take a beating.
Yeah, which is kind of the reference from earlier, which, what he did for you, like tried to stand up for her even though he didn't necessarily stop it,
Yeah,
and that
that's all he could do, and he makes it pretty clear that he was willing to take as much of an ass beating as it took, but that was the best it could do.
But that explains why Megan does give a shit and sticking by him, even though he's just kind of, from her eyes, made a mess of his life and beaten his own child and done horrendous things. That's why she still has that connection. For
sure. So Kyle, says, listen, she wants us to let it be. Thanks for the drink. And then he walks out. And the next scene is Megan, and there's an hourglass ticking down in her daughter's room. And there's this little pony doll on the floor, and Megan pauses while looking at it. And also, we forgot to mention, in the scene where he's kind of forcing himself on her, as he's pushing her backwards towards the bed, steps on like her little toy pony. Horsey. Yeah, and it breaks it. Yeah. And so I think that this kind of triggers her a little bit, seeing this little pony in her daughter's room.
I was wondering why they zoomed into that broken ponytail. I never noticed.
I'm fairly certain that that's all it was, is that she gets triggered by it. So she walks out with a purpose, grabs her purse, looks at where the gun in the closet is, so it's implied that she's grabbed it, because then the next scene is her at the hotel that Donnie's staying at. She walks right up to him as he's walking out of his room, and she says, you got to leave town.
Yeah, and he's like, look, I'm just trying to make a living. I'm here on business. There's like nothing I can do can make up for the past, but I had a fucked up childhood. We all did. And she's just like, no.
Boo fucking who, dude?
Yeah, exactly. Like, boo fucking who. You don't get to come, like, the same room is too close, the same house is too close, the same city's too close, practically the same state's too close. And he's like, hey, my life was affected too. When that happened, I got thrown back into, whatever it is, the orphanage. And with that on your record, who's ever going to adopt you, Which is just such a bullshit excuse.
Yeah, I mean, and she's like, so what? Do you think that I'm just here now because, of how broken I am, and like what you're seeing before you is just some broken down piece of me? And she's like, no, you are nothing to me, you arrogant prick. You're a bump in the road, something I scrape off my fucking shoe a long time ago. And then she mocks him for just being a tire salesman. And then he, starts to get a little heated. He's like, maybe I am more than a bump in the road. Maybe I do haunt you. And she's like, no, I'm just here to protect my family. I won't let my husband find out about you and ruin his life. Basically implying that he would fucking kill him.
Yeah. But I'm sure nothing will come of that, right?
Of course not.
Back to the Reverend. So,
no foreshadowing.
Yeah, so Reverend's now trying to get into Mildred's house. Sophie isn't there. He goes in the house and talks to Mildred about Kyle, and she just mentions she tripped. She obviously doesn't let on to anything. And but then he's starting to bring up the fact that some things have changed recently. She's no longer visiting the grandchildren. What fun would that be? One of them's now in law school. The other one's a whore, and he's just not buying it. He's like, things are off. Maybe Kyle was right. There is some evil left inside of her.
Yeah, well, he's like, even you and I, we used to sit here for hours playing Scrabble. Why'd that have to change? And she's like, I don't know how much time I've got left, and I'm tired of playing games with you. And then she growls at him all quickly.
And he goes,
yeah, I got you. But there was definitely like that kind of two-tone echo chamber sort of hint to her voice, like very clearly more than just an old woman making a guttural sound at him. Like there was something to it.
Yeah, I think I brought this up first episode. I don't think you heard it, but there was this woman that was with Florence, who I don't think we've seen outside of that otherwise, that had that going on. So I think they've had a few hints throughout of other people in town maybe being associated, and then they're just going to kind of start enacting upon that.
Yeah, well, this would seem to be definitely one of the first hints of that. And she's like, I like being this way better. You know, he says, you know, that is it better to leave holes in people's souls? And she's like, oh, there is so much more room in people's souls than you could imagine. And, you know, there are way better ways to fill it than what you think. And she's like, you know what? I do love our games. How about some Scrabble?
That seems a little bit fishy, right?
Oh, yeah, super fishy.
Mm-hmm. So now Reverend's at Kyle's house. He's knocking at night. Kyle answers, and he asks kind of a weird question. You want to know my
He loves going
sin is?
into, like, his little dramatic sermons and things like that.
Yeah, he likes to preach from on high. And, you know, he's like, ultimately, if you don't mind, I'm just going to do a perfect impersonation.
I'm, like, dying to hear it.
Are you? Okay. Well, ultimately... Oh, God, it's so bad.
Oh, God. No, he's Southern. Here it is. Here's the crutch.
All right, let me get the mood. Oh, God, I honestly can't do it. Well, ultimately, it's not lust or wrath, but pride. That was good, right?
Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh,
pride is
my
a
God.
bad boy that doesn't feel like sin.
I can't believe this is recording and people are going to hear you do this.
I basically just tried to channel Kenneth the Page from 30 Rock.
Oh my God, that was the worst thing I heard in my entire life. You are from the South, motherfucker. How can you not do that?
I'm from Florida, which is the same South you are.
You were born in Mississippi.
No, I visited Mississippi numerous times as a child because extended family lived there.
I'm just saying, like, what he actually does is he's like, you know what my favorite sin is? Not lust or wrath, pride. Pride is the bad boy that doesn't feel like a sin. There's a job I thought I did, but didn't do it well. And Kyle's like, I'll get my coat. And that's how you do a fucking Southern accent, bitch.
Well done, well done.
So clap.
Oh, man. Anyway,
Nice
so
one.
Kyle grabs his coat, and then, you know, they're basically on their way to Mildred's house. And Sophie answers this
There
time.
is a really quick little shot of a crow watching them in the trees. It could just be showing like a little shot of nature or something to have framed in the scene. I'm going to throw it out there just in case that actually amounts to something later. But there was a conspicuous shot of a crow in the tree.
There's also been the conspicuous shot of that bike growing into a tree. So my guess is that the Black Fedora Man... he can turn into crows and bikes.
Oh, okay.
Like vampires can turn into, you know, bats and wolves. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, so pepper in an inanimate object in there and you got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very Stephen King-esque, you know, like Christine.
Man, you could have said trees and it would have been the perfect tie-in to us having been saying Hexus all this time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we just
Okay.
Anyway, so Sophie's pissed about the fact that there was an exorcism. So now that Mildred understands...
Yeah, clearly Mildred is
she knows what's up. So now she's just
buttons.
planning... Yeah, she's like, they locked me in a room and starved me and beat the evil out of me. Like, essentially just convincing Sophie that they're evil and they didn't actually do anything and she wasn't sick.
Oh, yeah, so Sophie's not letting them anywhere near her again.
Yeah, so now the fact that she's not... It's not only the Reverend, but it's Kyle who already has that, you know, a reputation around town. Yeah, Sophie's not going to let that happen. So, you know, they're essentially going to leave, right? They're just going to be like, all right, we're done. But then for whatever reason, Reverend puts that, I don't know, Hummel figure outside. So I guess he took it earlier and then now he's leaving it outside. I didn't get that.
Yeah, okay. There is actually one little scene that we didn't talk about that it doesn't really have much import, but he's talking to his... It's not girlfriend, but the girl that, you know, the lady that has some interest in him. And she's like, what are these little toys you got here in your office? And he's like, they're little gifts that were given to me by people that I've helped. So clearly...
That's where he has the first flashback, though.
Yeah, so the old woman had given him this little knick-knack, which is basically like a figurine of a boy fishing. And so he places it back on her doorstep as if to signify... we're not done here.
Okay. Kind of.
So, okay. But, so anyway, the next scene is a car barreling down the highway at night. It's Donnie. And lights start flashing. Whoop, whoop. And, why couldn't the sirens have gone past on your thing, like, during any one of these siren scenes that actually occurred in the show?
I don't know. I guess that would have been too perfect.
Yeah.
But anyway, you immediately know, like, oh, shit, this is D-Mark. D-Mark's about to pull over Donnie, and things are going to get ugly. So he, gets his license registration out. The police officer comes to the car. You don't know it's him officially yet. He shines the light in, and he sees him. He's like, Mark, look, the other day, he's like, get out of the vehicle. And then Donnie...
he's like, this is a bad idea, man.
Yeah, and so Donnie does get out. He's still trying to plead, like, look, think about, this. Think about your...
That pretty little girl of yours.
Yeah, and that's when he just slaps the wallet out of his hand, turns him around, and then just slams him in the side. And then just... It pretty effective, because immediately I was thinking, I wonder if they have, like, cruiser cams and he could get in trouble for this. And sure enough, the rest of the shot is on a cruiser cam as he throws him into the side of the road and just starts beating the shit out of him off camera.
You know what? Doesn't matter, because we got our justice porn.
Justice porn.
Down, 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 down.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but yeah, the shot is happening through the dashboard cams, which is not great for Mark's professional prospects moving forward. But we do live in America, so actually it might just lead to
he definitely won't get
some paid
convicted
time
of
off.
anything. Yeah. he might resign and whatever, get some kind of letter of recommendation, but he will not go to jail.
Yeah, so anyway, that pretty much wraps up Kyle, Reverend, Megan, and Mark's plot lines. The one that we kind of set off to the side here just to go through really quickly. Actually, that's not it. There's one more for Mark after this, but let's talk about the sheriff's little side plot that he's going through.
Yeah, so, last time we were thinking, oh shit, I wonder if Sheriff is, maybe evil, because it almost seemed like he was covering up and not wanting to investigate the stuff that Mark had found. But this time he's having dinner with his wife. There's some friends over. The dog comes out and just almost attacks this guy, which immediately, as I watched this, I was like, oh shit,
warning bells.
Yeah, he's evil. We're dealing with demons and possession. This is kind of like a horror movie trope where animals can sense
very
evil,
much so, yes.
Right?
And the guy actually even
he makes the joke
to it. Yeah,
he makes the joke to kind of settle things at ease. Like, well, they say dogs are a great judge of character. That was a pretty good impression, right? That was me.
Yeah, that was actually not bad. So the wives go inside. This guy and the sheriff are talking. By the way, we have seen this guy before. He was playing poker with the sheriff and the Reverend in the very first episode.
Oh, it's that guy.
Yeah, so he's tied into some of the big wigs in the town. He's probably the mayor, actually. I mean, when you consider their stations, like, that would make sense, or something like that, Because you got the sheriff, you got the Reverend, so you got basically the law, you've got the church. So I mean, wouldn't he the logical station for him to be in be like mayor or something? If that was ever intimated at that he is the mayor, or that he's in any sort of role like that, like city councilman.
Yeah,
I don't think it was ever said. No. I didn't catch it.
For now, let's just call him King Shit.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
So Sheriff gives King Shit the watch, and at first I'm like, see, I knew he was on the take. He's giving it back, but then he actually starts to question him about it.
Yeah, grilling him a little bit. I mean, very casually. Ask him how he lost it. Dude doesn't know. Sheriff's like, someone just turned it in at the station. But, it doesn't really explain what the backstory is.
No, and so then it's done. So you're like, all right, so he's asking questions, so you're not 100% thinking that the sheriff is on the take or anything. But then Sheriff leaves the house. He says bye to his wife, says he's going to be gone a couple of days.
She's like, put that orange vest on. I don't want one of them dumb crackers mistaking you for a deer.
Yeah. So he takes off. He's got all his hunting gear, binoculars and such, and then he essentially goes through the woods in all this gear, and you realize that
There's some pretty cool shots, by the way, when he's going through that. Like close-ups of some weird insects, shots of the trees from an aerial view and from the other way.
It's very picturesque.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's a lot of actual beautiful shots here of the forest, of the main street. I love when there's little town type stuff and you're seeing any sort of vignettes or shots. There were a lot of great ones in Preacher.
Yeah, there were. Yeah, you really get a feel for like that small town of Anvil. But he makes his way through the woods, and then you realize he has basically camped himself across from the decrepit camper that Roy had searched through, and he's wanted to see what happens now that King Shit has the gold watch.
Yeah. So. Jesus, dude, you scared the fucking shit out of me. Oh my god.
Did that one sound pretty realistic? I obviously waited too long to use it.
Yeah, you're just gonna need to go through and post and dial that shit back a notch.
Alright. That was the sound of Sheriff pissing, because I think he does that next.
He does. So, Sheriff is taking a Nintendo Wii in the woods, and he hears something or someone near the camper, and he's watching from the woods with a pair of binocs, and he sees someone going inside of it with a can of gas. It definitely looks like king shit, and so the dude's dumping gas everywhere, looks around, making sure nobody's looking. Nice job, by the way, with that. Yeah. And then he grabs out a flare and sets that bitch ablaze.
Putting out fire with gasoline! Right? Although he actually lit a fire with gasoline, but, cat people.
Nice.
Yeah, so now we have Mark at his house. He gets a call from Chief, and he's wiping blood off of his knuckles, so he obviously did quite the number on Donnie. And Sheriff is, saying, "Hey, this case is still open.
Well,
stuff
do
on my
the
desk.
voice.
Go ahead and send it." So it looks here that the case is still open. So what I'd like you to do is take that there tackle box off of my desk and send it into the forensic investigators.
If it wasn't for all the stammering, that would have actually been pretty decent.
Dip, that's all.
I was about to say, that's all, folks.
Okay, so yeah, he basically asked him, like, you still got that stuff? Yeah, I still got it. And Sheriff's like, all right, let's ship it out for analysis tomorrow. Case is still open. And so, yeah, Mark's sitting there washing the blood off of his hands in the sink. Megan comes walking up behind him. They have a little chit-chat. Nothing super important is said. And so then your next shot is Reverend and Kyle driving on the highway.
Life is a highway. I'm gonna make it on my own.
Is that the words?
Maybe.
I think it's I'm gonna ride it all night long, but who am I to judge?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna ride it all night long. I like to be in bed by midnight, so I'm going to make it on my own.
This actually is a day shot, I'm pretty sure, too.
Perfect.
Right? So, like, not riding it all night long.
I didn't use that lyric.
Let's edit this part out.
I didn't use that lyric. I used the right lyric because it wasn't in the daytime. I thought all ahead.
I'm just sitting there backing you up on that, man. I'm saying good choice, not using the night long.
Oh, and I was thanking you for it.
Oh my god, please cut this out. This is fucking exhausting.
And so this is my least favorite scene. He now, obviously, because Mildred is still evil and Reverend's a failure when it comes to exorcism and he's wasted his whole life. Now you have Kyle that's worried about Allison also potentially still having the black goo in her tummy, in which case the Reverend's logical response is, instead of just doing a safe 3-point turn, he just slams on the gas and just whips his car around, which
fucking cheesy. No need to fishtail right
there. And I don't know, as if she's still been possessed since do we have a time frame on that? You're pretty good at timekeeping. How long ago has it been since he's not been with his family?
It's somewhere between 6 months and a year.
Okay, so if she hasn't immediately acted out in 6 months to a year, and Mildred over there has been possessed for 2 years, is it really so pertinent that you have to drive recklessly? Fuck.
What would have been hilarious is if he'd gone to fishtail and the tires had actually caught on the ground, and the car had rolled.
or just he blew a tire, and then it's just him attempting to change the tire, but 10 seconds in, he just assumes it's hopeless, and they start walking.
Or if he did that and he'd actually found a copy of a picture of his son, and by him doing that erratic driving, it had flown out of the window again.
Oh man.
Okay, so that's pretty much
Yeah.
like. Let's not linger on that scene because I was watching that and I did like that. Oh God, really?
Jesus, Reverend, get your shit together.
Agreed. So anyway, last thing is a shot of a dark house. It's Megan's. She's walking out of the back with a box full of stuff. My mind immediately when she's walking out, like all weird, like a zombie kind of, I'm thinking like, oh fuck, like is something happening here? Like is she, because it just does not seem like normal behavior, her walking out into the woods like this. So I'm thinking like, oh God, please tell me she's not like in cahoots with the bad guys or she's not like partially possessed or something. But she takes this stuff out. And I was actually scared for a second that it might be the evidence that Mark had collected from the campsite. But
okay.
what it actually is, my fucking dog sitting in the background just making vomiting sounds, making it really hard to concentrate. But so what it is it's a bunch of glasses, and she takes them out and she puts on protective bottles, and I'm thinking like, maybe target practice, maybe?
Me too,
because she's been with the gun.
Yeah, she's been looking at the gun, but I'm also like, it didn't show her walk that far from her house, so everyone's gonna wake up.
Yes,
but then you
same
realize,
thought process.
right? But then you realize instead she has a hammer and she's gonna break some shit. And I think this is where they should have had that Limp Bizkit song, Chainsaw.
I'm gonna break your fucking face tonight.
Give me something to break.
I mean, they might as well have gone with that, because for me, the slow motion shots of her breaking the glasses with the hammer, also super cheesy.
You didn't feel like she was breaking away the chains that Donnie left on her all those years ago?
Yeah, I guess that's what happened. But to me, it was just, we use this word a lot, but it was heavy-handed.
Yeah. Or heavy-hammered, rather.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
Sweet. That's a one to go out on.
Oh my God, that's a keeper. All right, yeah, let's put a bow on this bitch. All right, so that is the end of the episode. Credits roll. For everybody listening, thank you for continuing to tune in. Please tell your friends about us. Follow us on Facebook. Yep, Facebook. Schmear. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit. And again, we appreciate the support. And Mathis, you want to put a bow on this bitch?
Yeah, I will just say I am happy to an extent that this didn't kind of just stick with the Demon of the Week formula. They kind of go that route just with Mildred, but it doesn't resolve itself. This was more with Donnie and things. So I think storytelling-wise, it's nice that there's not a concrete formula. But otherwise...
That's really true.
Right? The show's a blast so far. I mean, we have our qualms with the Reverend, but I think we're both still having a good time. But check out the links in the episode. Check out the Outcast comics. Those are also fantastic. And... go to audibletrial.com/Boob Tube Buddies and give that a 30-day trial. We'll have a little more information up next. See you next time, little buddies.
Whoop, whoop, pull over that ass too fat. Whoop, whoop.
Pull up that ass. Oh, up that bad.
Dumps in the truck. Guys aqua. And that hoe got more booty in the butt.
Booty in the butt. Booty in the
Hey
butt.
buddies, this episode of Boob Tube Buddies is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible, that app still playing on your phone when you wake up in the morning. Romeo and Juliet was a great book. Literary classic, star-crossed lovers, she's dead, he's dead, she's not, she's dead, I get it. But you just don't have the time to try to read it and analyze the shit out of it. I'm with you. That's why I recommend Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Cliff Notes on audiobook. Narrated by Kate Rudd, this 4-hour audiobook will teach you everything you need to know to pretend you learned everything you need to know about Romeo and Juliet. And there's even a chance you'll pass that test. Go to audibletrial.com/BoobTubeBuddies, sign up for a free trial of Audible, and tell your teacher the Boob Tube Buddies say you're welcome. She'll know what that means.